Ladies and gentlemen, grace and peace, we are back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're about to do. We're going to be talking about the precocious protester, Don Lemon. I forgot about him. I ain't going to even lie. And I hate the fact that this story is dragged on because now we're going to be looking at better than a year before this even gets to any kind of resolution. What are we talking about, Jason? Remember when Don Lemon and that group of hack ICE protesters ran up in that church? All that. Remember, and there's like 39, 38 of them. Well, Don Lemon is still trying to do some legal wrangling, which, by the way, I want to at least give him credit. Some of his legal wrangling, it sounds like his lawyer is at least earning his or her salt. Although I want him to fail, although I want him to go to jail, he's at least trying. He's at least trying. I got to give him credit for that. So let's bring it in. Let's go. There he is. Y'all know y'all missed Don Lemon. Y'all missed him.
Don Lemon, a.k.a. Don Lemon, the former CNN host who got canned, is now struggling in his criminal case. Remember when he and a bunch of others invaded a church and said that they had a right to be there as they were interfering with the lawful operation of their worship? Well, now, as the prosecution continues on, Don and his defense team are trying all sorts of things to gain an advantage, and they're not doing a good job at it. Here is the latest order that came down. Out in this case, of course, it's United States of America versus Nekima Levy Armstrong. She was one of the ringleaders of the group, but there were in total 39 different defendants who were all listed as co-defendants here. And here the judge came back down slapping Don Lemon, saying the defendant, Don Lemon, has filed a document entitled, quote, motion to join relief granted to co-defendants Fort and Butte. Okay, so they got some outcome that they wanted, and now Don wants to go join in on it. Oh, that looks great. I'll take that. Now, the motion relates to the disclosure of grand jury transcripts. Back in July 24th, this court granted in part the motion of Georgia Fort, also joined by another defendant who have actually good lawyers, it sounds like, called Michael Butte, to disclose grand jury transcripts, ordering the transcript to be produced for the court's in-camera review. Okay, so other defense teams are actually making progress. So Don says, can I just get the same thing they got? I'd like to order that too. Now, Mr. Lemon, says the judge, asserts that he is similarly situated to them, and thus he asks the court to, quote, extend the same relief to him, requiring the government to give him the grand jury transcripts relating to Don Lemon for the court in camera as well. Now, the judge says, what? There are a number of problems with Mr. Lemon's request. First, Don is asking to join a matter that's already been decided. It's over. Like, you already won the game. You already got the Super Bowl rings and the trophy. You want to join the team? You didn't even play.
That's exactly that's a beautiful example. Don is basically this other co-defendant was given a particular hearing and they received a particular judgment. And Don wants to jump in after the fact. Again, it's like joining the team during the off season and they won the Super Bowl in this season, and you want to get a ring or you want to get some kind of, no, you can't get that shine, my friend. Not at all. So let's keep it going. But they're trying. You know what? I got to give them credit for trying.
Mr. Lemon cites no authority for such a peculiar request. And that's pretty embarrassing if you're his defense lawyer, who I think is still Abby Lowell. Now, granting such a motion would encourage gamesmanship, allowing a party to lie in wait on an issue, joining later if the issue came out favorably, and just kind of biding your time. If it's a good outcome, you'll join. If it's a bad outcome, you're not going to join. Crazy. And along the way, depriving the opposing party of the opportunity to respond. Like, Don, you're different. There's other issues that pertain only to you. So this court does not endorse such an approach. Have some courage. Get in the fight before it's decided. Second, Mr. Lemon had the opportunity to formally seek to join the motion when it was pending. That's exactly what Mr. Butte did. He said, that's a good idea. I'd like to be a part of that. Instead, Don pursued his own very fulsome motion practice on the issue of the grand jury transcript disclosure, and so was playing an entirely different game, and then was not successful on that, so now he wants to go join the victor. Now, finally, this court has already denied Don Lemon's motion for disclosure of the grand jury transcripts. You already lost that. Now they're going to be successful. You want to join them? That is currently pending on Mr. Lemon's appeal to the district court judge. And so Mr. Lemon now, and his request to join is thus essentially a request for this court to reconsider and revisit an issue which we've already as a whole has not made a final determination as the court. So the court declines the invitation, Don. And so accordingly, Don Lemon's motion to join is respectfully denied. Get out of here. What a weak quisling. Go fight for it at the outset. Don't join the victor. Nobody likes a freeloader, fair weather fan. So he loses that one. And then there's another one where where he's not doing so hot. So here's another one that also dropped a few days prior to the last one. And Don was responding to some extensions, and here's how this went down. So this matter is before the court. We've got a bunch of these co-defendants, and the defendants submitted a motion for extension of time to file pretrial motions. So all these defendants say we need more time. What's happening is some of these defendants and their lawyers are indicating that additional time is needed. There's new discovery. We got to do some more research. We got to prepare the appropriate pretrial motions. We need some more time. So the government, the DOJ prosecuting this, doesn't oppose that extension. Okay. The court has reviewed the responses from Don Lemon, Ms. Fort, Ms. Butte, Mr. Bowman, and others, saying that they do not oppose an extension of time for their co-defendants, but do object to an extension of time for themselves. And this is an interesting little split here. So in other words, they want to bifurcate the case. Okay. The judge is trying to bundle all these people together in one kind of group of co-defendants, but Don is saying, I want my right to a speedy trial. I'm not giving the DOJ any time. And this is, not bad legal practice. Oftentimes you can have an advantage by forcing the government to adhere to your speedy trial rights. One example where this comes up a lot is DUI cases. Maybe it's not an alcohol case, it's a drug case. You know your crime lab's going to be backed up for 6 months. They can't get these things tested. So you say, I want my trial like now, immediately, right now, because you want a tactical advantage. You want them to come to court and not have the results and the drug analysis that they can use and introduce as evidence against you. You race into court. So Don seemingly is trying something like that to really accelerate this, but he's also saying the other defendants, they can have an extension. So I want my trial, my trial motions, all of my work done quickly, but we don't oppose them extending this out. So the court says, okay. Now, in the interest of justice, the court finds that its failure to grant the requested continuance would deny the signing defendants reasonable time necessary to prepare their case. So for the other bucket that wants more time, he's saying, I'm going to give it to him. And so under U.S. Code, the court finds that the period of delay for Lemon, Fort, and Butte and Bowman reasonable given their co-defendant status, right? So Don is saying, I don't want any more extensions. I want to go right now. The judge says, too bad. You're a co-defendant. You're getting bumped too. The court denies the request of Don Lemon and the others to sever them from the remaining defendants for pretrial purposes. And so it is therefore ordered that the motion is granted for the other defendants. And so they're going to get some more time. So we've got some other dates here. All motions and other docs filed by August 31st. All motions and meet and confer statements. We've got responses by October 1. If you're going to call witnesses, October 1. October 9th, another deadline. Then we're going to have a motions hearing. And then we've got some pretrial motions hearing, October 19th, 20, 21, and 22. Those are going to be fun. Then we don't anticipate any more continuances. Now, if you want to file any pretrial motions like a motion to dismiss or a motion to suppress, you're going to have to file that. Here's how to do that. And we do anticipate post-hearing submissions. So we'll have some arguments and then you can submit after the fact. Parties should also address trial matters, things like voir dire, severance. And then on October 22nd, the fourth and final day of the motions hearing, we're going to exclude time from that. And this outweighs Don's request. And so he loses again. So ordered by Doug Miko, the magistrate judge out there in Minnesota. So Don loses again. And then we get another one that also dropped. And here's where Don loses even further. So on May 14th, the court ordered the parties to submit a joint status report. Within that submission, the government outlined the proposed deadlines. We just saw some of those. The government also informed the court that we had more discovery and we told the defense that we have this. And so they request more time. They want the additional 30 days. So here's the actual preceding motion, an order before that other order. Now, the government doesn't object to the proposed motion schedule for all defendants. While some defendants have indicated that their motions may impact the schedule, no one has proposed an alternative explanation for a new sequencing. Now, additionally, the court has previously found that the case is complex, meaning that we are allowed to remove speedy trial time from the calculations because it is so complex. We've also scheduled hearings. The court specifically finds that the ends of justice is served by taking action. It outweighs the best interests. There's a balancing test between the public and the defendants in a speedy trial. He says this timing is beneficial for both sides, and so we will extend it. Saying this case also involves over 30 defendants in a single case. There are novel questions of law. We've already engaged in extensive pretrial litigation, and so we're going to proceed according to these times, and they're all going to be bundled in as one. So Don wants to be separated out from the rest of the co-defendants. Not going to happen. And so the case proceeds forward, and we'll keep our eye on this one. But what I liked most about this was what a peculiar request. Don Lemon. That is a definitional type of phrasing for him because he is a peculiar guy and a real piece of work for invading a church in the middle of their worship service and asking questions of the pastor. So he loses again. He keeps trying some new novel things. He wants to join the winning team after they've won and he's already lost. But judge says that's not going to happen. And so get on out of here. Don loses again. We'll keep our eye on this one. Thanks for joining and subscribing as we do.
All right. So shout out, man. I think that was very interesting. I just wanted you to get a little bit update on that, and we'll keep bringing it back and talking about it a little bit more. And hopefully this trial will get some gas in it, and we can kind of get to some form of resolution. And let me know what you think about it. Comment down below if you had forgotten about it. I didn't mean to torment you by bringing it back up, but hey, I just want to make sure you were up to date on it. So thank you so much for tapping in. If you don't mind, please comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. Thank you for liking the video and all that kind of good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing you all real soon. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.